This video is going to cover display advertising. It's going to look at when it's best to use display advertising and then also look at 10 tips to make your display advertising as successful as possible. So the Google Display Network reaches 92% of internet users, and that's a huge percentage. So this in itself is one of the main benefits of display advertising. So you can achieve a huge reach without necessarily having a huge budget. Display advertising is best if you've got a goal such as brand awareness rather than a direct response goal. Having said this, remarketing is a type of display advertising which is really good at generating conversions. So display advertising can be used for direct response, but generally it's most effective if it's the traditional kind of display advertising at brand awareness and goals like that. So to make sure your remarketing and your display advertising is successful, make sure both display advertising and remarketing campaigns are kept separate from your other campaigns. So they can be in the same account, but just make sure for each type of advertising you've got a separate campaign. This just means you can keep an eye on your budget, and you can also make sure the performance in those campaigns doesn't affect the performance of other areas of the account. Frequency capping is something which applies to remarketing. We've all been online looking at sites and then had lots of ads follow us around for the same company, and eventually this gets really frustrating. So to make sure you're not a brand who's frustrating users by following them around with your ads, you can set frequency capping. So if you've got one remarketing campaign, you might set your frequency capping at 3 times per day at a campaign level. If you've got lots of different campaigns, then obviously that frequency needs to be lower because you don't want to be targeting them too much. So ad size and format's really important for an effective display campaign. You need to make sure you've got one of each type of ad size in each ad group. You should also try to make sure that there's a version, if you use animated ads, make sure there's always a static version in there too. What this does is just means that any placements or sites which don't support animated ads can still show your ads and you're still eligible to target those users. If you use mobile with display, I'd recommend making sure that you've got mobile specific ads too. So these are just slightly different formats, and they'll just make sure that you're eligible to show on mobile sites as well. There's lots of different ways of doing targeting with display advertising. The one I would recommend if you're just starting out would be keyword contextual targeting. So you can basically say to Google, only show my display ads on sites which are relevant to this set of keywords. What this means is that you've got a bit more control over where your ads are shown. But you can also target with topic types. This is something which might find that you get an even larger reach, but might not be suitable if your budget is quite a lot smaller. But using keyword contextual targeting means that you can have a bit more control over it, but still achieve a good reach. Your automatic placements report is something which you can find in your AdWords account, and it will show you all the sites which your ads have been shown on. So this lets you know, you can look through and look at the data for each one and see if a particular site converts well or is just working really well. You can make sure that's added as a managed placement in a separate campaign. Similarly, if there are sites which perform very poorly, you can exclude them. This moves me on to excluding categories as well. So where you go to exclude sites, you can actually exclude whole categories. For example, there's a category called death and tragedy. If you don't think that's appropriate to your ads, you can exclude that category before you even start, and you just pick from a list of categories which Google suggests. Impression share due to rank. This is something you can find in AdWords if you customise your columns. You can just get it as an extra column in your standard report, and it will basically let you know where you're missing out on impression share because your ad rank isn't good enough. To improve your ad rank and get your impression share up, something you can do is increase your bids. Your ad creative is obviously fundamental for a successful display campaign. Make sure your ad creative has some continuity to your website. And that's particularly important for remarketing because obviously you're targeting users who have visited your site and you want them to be aware that you're the same company whose site they visited. In display advertising in general, I'd make sure you've got a clear call to action. And obviously, if you're using remarketing and you've got the advantage of specifically knowing which pages those users visited, you could try making your ads as specific to that content on your site and those products and those pages. This will just help the ads seem more relevant and hopefully get a better level of engagement. When you split test your ads, obviously it's not the same as split testing on a search campaign. So split test and test things like your destination URL and which ads convert best. Don't test on CTR. So those are 10 tips which can help you make sure your display advertising is successful. If you've got any questions, you can find me on Twitter or follow us on any of the following social profiles.